Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming and welcome aboard. Welcome in aboard the GQUAT family reunion bus, where good friends become family and family is everything. So, why do I have on just black? Because I'm going to show you all something. Unbiased LLC. She's listening and working as always. I learned something new the other day when I was on Mr. Arthur's chat when they were talking about uh, how to find people in the chat and they were having numbers. I never knew that the numbers they were referring to referred to the time on there. Mike's chaotic gardening and squirrel. Chaotic gardening. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. So, you guys seem to really enjoy the quilts. You know that I am one of, I won't say the best, one of the most advanced quilters out there. Dolores, hey, thank you for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. Matthew Whittington, tools for the project. Yes, 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 yes. And for me, we'll wait until some more people come in. I thank you. So I am trying to pull up the chat. My computer froze just before we went live. We had a big thunderstorm last night. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And I charged my computer. Well, today, hey Bouger, Mr. President, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. Mike's Chaotic Gardening. So I didn't turn my computer on, but then I couldn't even shut it off so that it could reboot itself. Maria Graham says it's raining in South Carolina now. So hello to all of you in the bushes, those of you on the replay. I had a crazy day today. She was good and cray cray. My day was. And we'll wait. Matthew, I like to wait until about 15 minutes after the start to actually get into the content and do some chit chat, icebreakers, whatnot. And I wanted to tell you about my day today. So, oh, it didn't reach you yet, Bouger? Well, I woke up in the middle of the night last night. It wasn't the middle of the night. I went early because I had a little procedure yesterday. My face is kind of swollen today. So I said, I won't be jumping around. And then I take the senior handicap bus with a friend of mine. And once a month, we just go riding around, riding around. Well, oh, it's storming now in Georgia. Oh, Maria Graham, thank you. Well, she says she loves my hair. Well, the reason my hair is really curly and doing all this because I didn't have time to mess with it. Everybody says when you have locks, starter locks, which these are for those of you who don't know, my hair is on a journey to have some kind of locks, and they're getting round, they're doing something, and they say you're not supposed to overdo it, trying to manage them. Well, my hair is cut shorter than I usually wear it. I don't know what to do with it. Karen's Little Garden, thank you for coming and welcome. Our treasured home, Nancy, can you send me an avatar or a little picture to put in my thumbnail, Our Treasured Home, so that when you come live on Saturday, we will have a guest you all and we will be working on something together. Hello to anybody that I might have missed. Charge it to my eyes and not to my heart because I try to speak to everyone. And so we gets on this handicap bus, right? And then instead of taking us to where we were going, which is about a half hour ride, a good half hour ride, they go somewhere around Yale University. school isn't in, but there is summer school. All these people walking around, traffic. And I'm like, why is this bozo driver taking us over there? Places I've never seen. I've never seen. It was interesting. It was interesting. And then he picks up one lady. Well, y'all, this lady had to be good and in her 80s. She had on Daisy Dukes or maybe Daisy Dukiers. But the funny thing is, she had these shorts on that came like to the middle of her thigh. And there's another lady in our building that does that. She cuts off all her sweats and she has her little I call them her Daisy Dukes. All the people in the building get mad. I don't want to sit on that chair after her funky bum bum bum. Everything it is so funny. But anyway, this lady gets on with her shorts, and then she gives the bus driver the wrong address that we were going to. Then we pick up, hey Nikki, the everyday life of an OCD-ish chick. You all, when lightning woke me up last night about 11 o'clock, I watched the entire wind down live from beginning to end. I even think I left a sentence in the chat, just being a smarty pants. Shay Shay, thank you for coming and welcome, 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 welcome everybody. Did I see something on my shirt? No. Oh, that was that. So the bus driver drops one lady off. She had a medical appointment. I didn't mean to say her name. My friend and I were just going shopping. We were going to the butcher, the specialty butcher that moved way somewhere in a bougie neighborhood. They used to be on the other side of town where everybody was. Now they are way, way, way somewhere. And the store is all fancy, but they don't have the carts that you ride around. So me and my new left knee were walking around the store for about an hour before the handicap bus came to pick us up. But anyway, we get over, we drop the first lady off. And then the second lady says the same address. The bus driver is telling her, no, hey, Lorraine T, thank you for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. And the bus driver is saying, no, that can't be. We're in the back of this address. So this lady's arguing with him. Well, just go down the street. Just keep going. I know where it is. It's on the same street, which it was. And the bus driver gets off the bus, calls the company. It was cray cray. So then my friend and I went to the meat store, and I had already ordered what I wanted. So I accidentally I bought some Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, the kind you grate yourself, because this is one of those it used to be a mom and pop's Italian store where they had all the stuff with the salamis hanging in the store and the cheeses and everything. They don't do that anymore, but I ordered what I wanted. I accidentally got, I think, 6 more pounds of oxtail. I didn't have anywhere to put it. I bought, you guys, listen to this. One of the neighbors said, I bought chicken feet. It's like, chicken feet? I don't need chicken feet. I do. You know what I bought them for? To boil them and make my own bone broth and then sift it. And it makes the bone broth that is so rich that it's like Jello. It's like Jello before you even cook with it. So I bought that and I walked around. I accidentally bought some Italian pastry and had a good time, came home. So I said, boy, my legs are tired. What am I going to do today after we talk about planning and plan any project material and tools? We'll wait a few more minutes because chicken feet are greasy. It's so good to boil them. I boil them, Shay Shay, And I mean, for like 24 hours, at least 24 hours. I put them in the crock pot. Then I get the strainer and I strain out all the other stuff and throw it away. Then I put it in the refrigerator overnight. Then I skim the greasy part off, and I'm just left with plain, really good broth. Really good broth. Yes, Barb Brownlee. Thank you for coming and welcome. You know what? When I look at the live after it's over and I'm looking over here in the corner, it looks like I'm looking at exactly what you guys are saying and ignoring you, but I'm not. I'm actually looking at something else, and it's what is on whatever is on the screen. So they actually have very expensive, I mean, well paid jobs called project managers. You can go to a graduate school and get a certificate as a project manager. As a matter of fact, my son, my only son, is working on getting the project manager certificate for the place that he works. He's been there a long time. He's an IT manager at an accounting firm. Yes. So, what have you all been doing today? Cooking in the garden? Put put what you've been doing, because I have something exciting to tell you about my garden. And my garden, I see there are 14 in the chat. My garden, the tin beds are actually put together and they're out there, and I'm culturing them. Most people who are not gardeners think that it's a tin with a bottom in it. Of course it isn't. It just has cross ties. You're embroidering the backing of a quilt. Are you hand embroidering, Shay Shay? I love I love piece backings that are different, and I make sure that all not all, but my show quilts, which are, Maria Grant said that sounds good. Mike just woke up an hour ago. Mike, you're up in the morning on other channels moderating. You do a great job. So let's talk about planning a project. If you are planning, oh, Nick, let's see what Nikki did. She gave her bathroom a deep cleaning, well overdue. The most excitement you've had today. Well, our excitement was my friend, since I can take somebody with me as a handicapped person, I take her, so we both ride on one bus fare. And she was so mad. She can travel on her own because she's disabled. Our treasured home is still crocheting her sleeveless shirt, made a washcloth last night, and getting ready to show how well the second round of gardening is doing. Good for you. Good for you. I'm just cleaning mine out from the wintertime. The leaves are in there, but that was intentional. That was intentional because wellness with Frugal Mama. I saw you this morning sitting there, and it was actually a replay. And the part when you were sitting and doing your feet like back and forth, sitting down, I do that standing, but I was sitting at the time watching your replay, and I was doing them along with you. Karen is still cutting up jeans, crocheting. Okay. All right. So Val creates. I was on your channel too. I binge watch you guys, and then I binge go back and I have to look your channel up and leave comments. Val was working on bracelets and some other things, and not just earrings lately. Wellness with Frugal Mama says thank you. So after I walked all over this store, oh, and Mike, those tomahawk steaks that they had in there, Lord have mercy. Like, I think one was like $32, one was $47. I'm like, for one steak, nope, I'll take 6 pounds of oxtail, please. Thank you very much. But what I like about this butcher shop is that they trim the fat off for you and they cut it to the size that you like. I like mine cut in like inch and a half, 1.5 inch pieces, so that all that goodness can, you pick more tomatoes today out of your purple cherry tomatoes. Oh, very good. So I'm just getting my beds put together and I'm going to backtrack to what I was telling you. I intentionally left all the leaves from the trees above because my hugelculture includes taking all the pieces of wood that were in my previous planter or fell from the tree, the dead pieces of wood in the bottom of the planter. Then I had a couple of laundry baskets full of grass clippings. I stuck those down in the cracks. So the next part will be, one of my friends is meeting me in the garden tomorrow, and we are going to pick up as many leaves as we can and put them in the tin beds up to about 4 inches from the top, 4 to 6 inches. Then I'll put all that potting soil that I saved from the raised bed that collapsed. Then I saw somebody gave me a new little raised bed and it was out there. They were cleaning the community garden and somebody left it there. And I'm like, no, I don't want anybody else's stuff. Then I said, you know what? I'll take it, I'll paint it up and make it nice and use it in my garden for something because I plan to garden year round. And here in like the commercial place that I go and get greens when I want like cases of them because I have a small garden. What does Nikki call a small space garden? I can grow enough for me. Oh, wow, there are 21 of you in here. I'm excited. They are delicious, our treasured home. I have some purple cherry tomatoes started from scratch from Yankee's sister, and then she brought it. It was about this tall. It was about this tall, right? So I waited to put it in a special sack. Guess what? It fell over and I broke it. Like almost the whole thing. That's okay. I dug a deep hole, when those old fashioned things that like bulb, it's a bulb planter and it has the inches on it. I dug that thing all the way to the bottom of the grow bag and planted it, and it's living and it's thriving. It's growing. Bean juice. Thank you for coming. Tell your mom I said hello. I appreciate you. I've been looking for you. You did receive my package. You'll be in the bushes getting some housework done. Thank you. I forgot I sent. It was just a little something something. It was just a little something. I like I like sharing and giving, and what can you give people that money can't buy? You can give them something you made yourself. You can give them, which is a part of yourself. So now let's see, it's 4:16. Let's talk about the subject about planning. Whether you I used to work in a fancy law firms, a bunch of big clients like Swiss Bank, other banks were clients, and I was a management consultant. I didn't like having everything in the computer. I like having things in a book that I can see, that I can look at, I can marinate over and look and see. Other times, I just knocked my phone over. Other times, what I was doing, but most of all, I like to see a month at a glance. Sometimes I have pieces of paper that I need for referrals or to do things. I put that in the book. And my other thing, I know that a lot of you wear Barb Brownlee says she would just water her pots in the garden because they were dry. Found some worms. Oh, they weren't the good kind of worms. I thought you meant they were red wigglers. I'm actually going to go to Walmart and buy some worms to put in my big tin beds. I'm so proud of them. So proud of them. And going back to planning, so I like having a book. Hey Hudson, thanks for coming and welcome, welcome, welcome. So I'll go back to where there are empty pages. And what would I put on this in the empty pages? For example, if I were planning my fall garden, I would look on, I would Google it for the area that I live in. I already know what the first frost date is, and I would plant accordingly. Why am I talking about planting and a frost date? Because I know how long it takes collards to grow, and it depends on what kind, 60 to 90 days. And here in Connecticut, at least the way I was raised, I don't harvest my collards until the frost hits them. It does something to the chlorophyll and it makes them so, so good. But there's a farm that I have put in some of my lives and shorts, and they've been in business for, I don't know, 100 years, a couple 100 years, and they're close and they're family friends. So I just call them and say, look, I need 2 cases of collards. Then I bring them here, wash them, cut them up. I like little tiny slices. So I put the end date. Somebody says, good luck with your 10 beds. Okay. I put the end date in here, and then I'll show you like July, the month that we're in, is a mess. And then when I have a lot of things, I can write it in my book. I also have it in my phone electronically. This is, for example, the month that just passed, June. I put things that I need to do in here. I put other little notes, phone numbers, things that I want to remember, including next year, because I save these. I have these for at least like 20 years. It's almost like journaling these. And I even put like for GQUAT, physical therapy, PTOT, what time I go. Yes. Oh, guess what? I have over there. Hashtag injury hit with 40-pound kettlebell. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I have that written down. I also, for those of you who asked, I have Daddy's big old Swiss Army watch. Why? Because I can swim in it, I can exercise in it, I can take a shower in it, and it takes a licking and keeps on ticking. What am I doing? Trying not to fall out of this chair while I get my phone. You know it's not alive unless I drop something, you guys. Nikki says, great notes, great notes. So I have these year after year after year, and then sometimes I look through them and it reminds me to do something. Or and one thing, these kind of receipts, you guys, I won't fall, Nikki. Thank you, though. These kind of receipts fade over the years. So I don't know if you see, I took like a deep marker. This was a note because I bought something for a family member and it was $40.54. So when everything else fades, I do have the hard copy receipt. The hard copy receipt. I have my elevator speech in here. I was talking to Dolores about this, my annual exam, what I wanted to talk to my doctor about. So that's how you plan things. And When I worked in a law firm, for example, we did estate planning and income taxes. Well, everybody's income taxes due April 15th. I had to, for the clients that I took care of, I had to go through their paperwork. I had to file certain papers, and I had to do things monthly. I had to do things weekly, and I couldn't just concentrate on one client. I had to do it for my whole client list. When I left that firm, when I retired, I didn't retire then. I just moved back to Connecticut. I I left them a list for every single file, every client that I had, what I was doing, so that the next person that took over my caseload would be able to do that. So, this I wrote 6/18/2023. Ellen Pankey, some initials MBA, storyteller artist, retired management consultant who has literally come back to life by preserving her life stories of 8 generations of gardening, scratch cooking, quilting, fine art, crafts. Hashtag GQUAT, GQUAT traditions. And then I had some other notes. That was before I even started my channel, but I still have it back there as part of my planning. And my elevator speech, when people say, "Tell us about you. Why do you have a channel? What do you do?" So I noticed that last Thursday, when I had Katy from Greenland on, she was showing her quilts. You guys were really, really interested in it. And one of the things she talked to you guys about was colorways and buying pre-cut fabrics. I she asked me how long I've been quilting. I have been sewing. I have been sewing for over 70 years. I have been embroidering for over 70 years. I have been crocheting over 70 years, knitting over 70 years. So I've done a little bit of everything, and I don't want to seem like it's a competition that I've been doing it longer, bigger, better, any of that. So I often don't show you the people that come in every week and the things that I'm working on. You see me working on them, like that quilt of the art quilt of Africa up in the back, or Miss Mignon. So today we're going to have a small trunk show, which is why I wore a black top, so that I won't compete with the colors. And Katy was telling you guys about colorways. Well, colorways are patterns, groups of fabrics that mix and match, and she buys hers pre-cut. I buy yardage. I'm going to show you my lap. I'm going to sit back over here. Oh, this looks like Frugal Mama's lap over here, except hers is tighter and cuter. But anyway, it's tight enough. So I want to show you guys. I told you I like batiks and African fabrics. I buy yardage. I buy yardage, and I had a group of quilters, and I was really good at cutting fabric, and I had a really big cutting table and tools. So, what I'm going to show you guys are some of the batiks that I cut, and why I don't buy them pre cut, because nobody's going to give me these colors and these amounts. Hey, girl, dad, cooking up deliciousness. So, if the moderators will be sure to speak to everybody, well, I can't see the chat. So, this this pile of fabric represents a minimum of 1 yard that I bought of each of these colors. And what I did was I cut the yard in half, and then I made fat quarters to trade with other quilters who did the same thing. Then, after I had my fat quarters set aside, I cut 6.5 inch strips. I cut 2.5 inch strips. I cut 5 inch strips, because those are the sizes that I normally use for blocks. So you won't be able to see my face for a minute, but I'm going to show you the different colors. So look at this gorgeous green, and I'll show it to you up close so that you can see the markings on it. This is not just plain everyday fabrics. Hi, Mrs. D Garden. Thank you for coming and welcome. And so this is like a green. People don't pick the colorways. I like colorways that nobody has. Here's a tan. Oh my gosh. Look at this one. Look at this purple. Can you see that? You might find somebody that picked purple. You won't find that color purple. And see, these are already cut in 6.5 inch strips. So when I get ready to use them, all I have to do is cut them in blocks and the amount that I need. Can you see? This is like a rust color. So these are different colorways to mix and match. And I can't even imagine asking somebody to go to the store and getting all these fabrics. My sister, Auntie Joanne Stevens, will tell you we go to fabric stores and literally spend hours and hours and hours. Now look at this one. This one is similar to the last one, but not the same. Can you see like the patterns in them? When I put them in a quilt or something, they will blend and fade together. But I want you to see, this is why I love batiks, because it's not just green, it's all the different colors in there. So these, I bought a yard of each one of these. And then I either sold or traded the fat quarters that I cut. And what is, I think Dolores is like, you guys know me so well. I keep my earpiece in because I talk to Dolores in the back, and she's like, Auntie, you don't need your earpiece in today, so move it so it's not in your way. You saw me keep tying myself up, right? I do have, I do have a Bluetooth one. I just don't know where it is. So this one is a blue, but it was more fun when it was on my lap, right? I just want you guys to see what is out there when you go. But you probably have to go to a quilt shop, places like the regular big box stores, the chains. They don't have all these different blends of colors. So, do I have a lot of money? Oh, heck no. Heck no. I'm retired. I live on a fixed income. I save my money up and then I go and I buy in bulk. So I'll save and I'll buy, say, 10 yards at a time. I'll wait until there's a sale, even at the quilt stores. The machine shops usually have really good fabrics. Can you see even the print in the light fabric? Mrs. D Gardens is speaking to everybody. I hold on, you guys. I want you to just see the different fabrics because I love touching them and they're so pretty. But I'm going to show you. I have a whole stack of finished quilts to show you, and we're going to have show and tell. I'm going to show you some of the smaller quilts. Look at this. This is delicious. Look at all the colors in there. Ah, and see, if you were buying it pre-cuts, you would never have these colors. You would never, never, never have these colors. My eye is watering. Are you bored or do you want to finish seeing the ones on my lap or quilts? You want to see quilts or fabrics or both? Put a one if you want to see fabrics because these are Auntie Ellen's pre-cuts. I'm just showing you to show you what I have to choose from when I make a quilt. And this is what I love, love, love. I love having fabrics that nobody has to put in a quilt because I went and I selected little pieces. So look, this is another stack of different colors. But I want to everybody want you want to see the fabrics. Okay. So we're having show and tell, and then I'm going to show you how I put them together to make things. Even in between, Bean Juice Galore says one. Just to tease you. That's why I wore a black shirt so that my any colors I have on wouldn't interfere in case somebody wanted to screenshot. Look at this. This is a pillow I have on my extra bed. I have an antique hospital bed. For when I get old, all I have to do is get in it and send a nurse and somebody to clean and cook up, and I can stay here forever. Isn't this beautiful? Do you see the purple in the middle is a different color batik than the other purples? The orange. This one has the orange in the middle and the little edge on it. So these are some of the things I make with the fabrics that I chose. Lorraine T. When Lorraine T comes to my house, you can really see it and touch it. Oh yes. Oh yes. And her and Yankee's sister, they sweet talk me out of something sometimes. They pay for the fabrics. They reimburse me for whatever I paid. I'm just sitting there hogging them and holding on to them. And I'm going to show you a really pretty quilt I made with some, this will give you a sneak preview, with some of these fabrics. So this is why Auntie Ellen, everybody has their own way of doing things. Everybody has what works best for them. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. You do what you like to do and whatever fits your budget. Do I buy these boutiques every day? No, I don't buy fabrics every day. I might buy fabrics once a year. I might buy, for example, well, maybe one of those other pretty ones. If there's a 6 yard piece of it, I might buy the whole piece and then cut it up. Maybe I'll sell some of it, or maybe I'll trade with other quilters because they trust my cutting. They know that I cut. Now, this one, Dolores, I don't know whether this is pink or maroon or whatever, but this is just delicious. It's like a rose colored batik. And these are just sitting there waiting for me to do something. And when it's in a quilt and on a wall, you really can't appreciate this. Like, look at this. This looks like somewhere in the Grand Canyon looking through the layers of the water or something. Isn't that just gorgeous? So, these, you guys, this is before I downsized. This is when I had the North Carolina homestead. I bought these. So, I've had these like 10 years for a special project that I haven't defined yet and put in my project. Was that the phone again? No, I don't know what that was. That's, well, it wasn't oxtail. It wasn't chicken feet. This is just a boring color, but it's still pretty because it has watermarks on it. Look at these, you guys. This is like a green. And when I finish showing you these fabrics, I'll show you. I have a whole, I don't know if you could see, this is the bottom of the chair. All this are small quilts that I took out to show you guys today. Because I always say, oh, I'm a quilter. Oh, I am a master quilter. Oh, I do this, I do that. But you don't get to see them finished. This is like an odd looking one. Oh, this one is really pretty. It has like purple and pinks and greens. It looks like some of the sunsets that you see in other places. I love the watermark batiks. Dolores said it's too cute. So I wanted to show you and why I don't take them out when others, because this is a lot. This is a lot. And nobody's was going to go and cut all these up and find these for me. These are the kinds of things you have to do for yourself. Now, I'll just hold these up in a pile because there was the blue one, here's a green one, a purple one. So that was this. Oh, and there's a place called Connecting Threads. I know exactly where I bought all these fabrics. I bought them online, and there's a place called Connecting Threads. But the thing about Connecting Threads is if you are making something for sale or you have a vendor's license, you get a discount. Okay, so now let's get to show and tell. So this is a quilt that I put in a quilt show. And it's nice to have the embroidered labels. You can print your labels. Me as a quilt show judge, I love seeing the handmade labels. So this piece is called Thundering Hot Tomahawks. Artist Ellen Pankey, New Haven, Connecticut, 2020, 30 inches wide by 30 inches long, and it's an art quilt. I put the size of my quilts on the back of them because when there's a quilt show, you need to know how much wall space you use. If you're going to even a farmer's market, you need to know how much space you have for hanging. So, these are tomahawks, and each tomahawk is a different color. Each one is a different color, and I long arm quilted it myself with red thread. And then you see this border? This border is pieced together. I put all these fabrics together my own self to make a border. Hi Christina, thank you for coming and welcome. So this is what I do when I'm making a show quilt, and even the back of it is a pretty color. I mean a pretty fabric. I think it's a pretty fabric. These are the quilts that I don't sell. I just save them when people call up or different institutions and they say, well, do you have any quilts that you'd like to show? Yes, I do. Okay, now here's a quilt. You guys know I love animal print. So this is the back. This I brought from a place in New York City. The guy was from like Pakistan or India, and he sold African fabrics. So I bought a whole 6 yard piece of this so that I could use it for a backing. Beanju said you could go for a tomahawk steak right about now. Oh, little confession. I didn't confess last night anything on Hands in the Dirt. I mean, Wind Down Wednesday. Two little New York strip steaks did accidentally fall in my cart. They really did. They're in there. But I don't eat red meat that much. But when you buy it and it's perfectly trimmed, perfectly carved, I had to get it. So the name of this piece, and it's a handmade label. Why? And it's the symbol of an Ohio star, which is a block, one of my favorite blocks. And it's called BB's Ohio Fans. BB means grandmother in Swahili. And it's piece by Ellen Penny Pankey. It was long arm quilted by Quilt Lizzie, one of my friends in Warrenton, North Carolina, that has a shop. And I made this quilt February 10th, 2012. Wow, this quilt is 12 years old. And it's 48 inches by 48 inches. I'll show it in pieces because I hand cut. I'll turn it this way because it's easier to see. I hand cut each one of these fans. I mean, each one of these fan blades. No two fans are alike. So was a 9 patch. I put 3 fans on the bottom, an Ohio star in the center. Let me show you the Ohio star. Usually at a trunk show, you have somebody to fold them and stuff. So I only got small quilts out to show you. Now, what I did with this quilt, these were the leftover blocks. I had 8 leftover blocks, so I made an Ohio star in the middle because I made a it was actually a king size quilt for my daughter's queen size bed back in, I guess it was 2012. Those were the ones that were left over. Oh, you see that fan? April skits. You guys are funny. So then here's another leftover quilt. So why do I mean leftover quilt? This one, I remember I named it Cafe Olay. This is actually a king size quilt that I made for my mother. It was on her bed when we took family pictures on Sunday with the baby and people on. I love taking pictures of my mother on her bed with the kids. And these are called piano keys. But look closely. Do you see each one of these? Each one of these has 3 pieces of fabric. It's not like one piece. It's a brown, a piece with brown and gold, and a brown. This is a very intricate quilt. This quilt is very detailed. You see the tan? This one is a different fabric from the middle, different from the end. K Renee. I'm gonna have K Renee getting those quilts out. But see, this is a very detailed quilt. Some quilts are utility quilts. They're just to get under, keep warm, make you happy. You don't have to put all this work in every quilt. That's why I try to show you guys when we have like our weekly create and chat. I try to show you don't have to do all this. This one on the back, it's kind of pieced. Because it was flowers, I put a fabric that had all the different flowers. But what's interesting about this is that some of the fans have blades that swing to the right. Do you see that fan blade? Each, like this brown one, there's 3 different colors in that one strip. The tan one, there's 3 different colors in each strip. 3 different pieces of fabric to make one blade. This was a very detailed quilt, but these were the leftover blocks. And because some of the quilts, I mean, some of the fans turn to the left, some turn to the right, if I put them next to each other, it would be like brown on brown. You couldn't see the pattern. So therefore, I put a little sashing. Sashing is a little strip you put between the blocks to accent them. And if you want it to blend in, you put neutral colors. If you want them to have a little pop, you put opposing colors. Like on the color wheel, on the color chart, that's when you put opposing colors. I see you, Maria Graham. I see you, my little show and tell. So this is a private show just for you all who are here today. A private show. I took out some of my quilts. So this is the back of a quilt. It's very detailed. This is one of my show quilts. And you see this fabric? This is actually the hanging sleeve, this purple. And I forgot who was just talking about embroidery. This is what's called a crazy quilt. It has velvet in it. It has embroidery in it. It has crochet in it. It has buttons. It has beads. It has a cowrie shell. I'll show it to you half by half. It has velvet, all different kinds of fabric. It has a fan. It has some of my African fabrics. Some of these fabrics were hand carried from Senegal and Gambia by somebody in my church. And if you see this corner, it's actually made into, it's actually a fan type of shape. And I made this one. You see, I embroidered my name on it. This is Ellen Pankey, 2008. Dolores said, you're going to have to join my class to do that because they're beautiful. Thank you. So these are my real quilts, but you don't have to start with these. I didn't start with these. I've been quilting like 20 years when I did this, but I will tell you how you make these. Any crazy quilt, you take a square and then you shape it so that there are 5 sides, any 5 sides, and then you just keep adding fabric to the outside as you go around it like a log cabin quilt. And then look at all these crazy colors in here. That's why it's called a crazy quilt. Look, this is a piece of crochet that my grandmother did years ago. Look at that. I just saw an embroidered butterfly. Maria likes butterflies. And do you see what this little button says? It says faith. Faith. Psalm 146, faith. All of you who have faith. Hudson, you're enjoying the show. Hudson has one of my pieces. She invested in one of the quilts. I forgot which one she got. She got, but it's a beautiful quilt. And then I put a little piece of black sashing in each one of these. Now, this was one I made for a door wreath. And it has a hanging sleeve on the back. I don't even know why I wasted this good batik putting it on the back. Thank you. Christina loves crazy quilts. Maria Graham says, beautiful work, Auntie. Barb Brownlee says, exquisite. Kim Burris. So this is one I made, and this is what they call a little twister ruler. So what you do is, you see it looks like a door wreath. So what you do is you cut the blocks out and you lay them next to each other so that it would kind of be a wreath. Then you take this little ruler that has a funny shape and you cut each piece out and then you sew it back together so that it has a different shape. Do you see all those little twists and turns and little stars in there? It says, what is the material that makes the border? Okay. What makes quilts heavy? Oh, Hudson, what makes quilts heavy is the batting that you have inside. The batting can be anything you want, or technically, a quilt is a fabric sandwich. You have a top, you have a middle, and you have a backing. So, what makes it heavy is the type of batting you put inside. You can use bamboo, you can use wool. There are battings of all kinds you wouldn't even imagine. I even have some cotton batting that is black so that when you have a quilt that you don't want to see through, I was holding up that cafe au lait, you can actually see through it. But I wanted it to be lightweight because at the time I made it, I was in North Carolina and it would get really hot down there in the summers. You love that one for patriotic holidays. It must have taken a very long time to make. It did. No, ask all the questions you want. What is the material that makes the border? You can use any fabric you want. This one was actually a kind of batik that I got from a store that was in North Carolina. And I just cut it out, and you could see the corners where I put it in, and I quilted. I just noticed something, you guys. I must have done that one here because it doesn't have a label on it. I'll have to put a label on it. Every quilt's supposed to have a label and a birth certificate. I guess I just put it because I put it inside the door. I actually, this in here, up there where Miss Mignon is, there's a one place with that the little holder up there that I can switch quilts out and put them up. The one with all the buttons, the quilt, you don't clean that one. You would, I guess, dry clean it or whatever. That one's just for show. That one's just for show, Lorraine T. So this one is called a little twister. I have one that you can actually see a little better. I have it over there. So this is a fun quilt. This is one that you could actually make for bean juice. Let me get it turned around right because it's a pumpkin face. And all of the fabric in here, all of the fabric is made out of 2.5 inch squares of food. Do you see this? It's all food. Even the back has cherries and whatnot. So I don't know if you can see this guy's eyes and he's smiling. This is something that I would hang up like for Halloween or Thanksgiving or something like that. It already has a hanging sleeve on it. And I don't know if you can see it. Oh, and another thing about my show quilts, you see these? All of these quilts that I showed you are hand sewn bindings. The big quilts, even the bed quilts, the big ones that I make, I hand sew those. Each stitch is like 1/4 inch apart. I just sit on my bed and like sometimes when you're on doing crafts late at night and look, so that's how you want to try to have your stitches look. So when I sew the binding on, I sew it on for the front from the front and flip it to the back so I can hand sew it. But I don't have to do that. I can put it on from the back and flip it forward and just sew near the edge with the sewing machine. Would I do this for a hand for a baby? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. The size. Hi, Sissy Joanne Stevens. Thanks for coming and welcome. My sister Joanne hasn't even seen these quilts because they've been put up. This one is another one that I must have finished in the last 10 years. Why? Because it doesn't have a label. I always put labels on my quilts. I always tell you guys to put labels on your quilts. I guess I put them up after I made them, and you could see my long arm quilting on the back are actually leaves that I put on here. I used to teach long arm quilting as well. So I want to show you this one because I showed you the other one. This one is called Home of the Brave, and it's actually a quilt that is Maria Graham. Do you remember this fabric, Maria Graham? I had 167 yards of this fabric. I used it on everything. Okay, this is actually a hanging quilt, and I have a big hanging sleeve on it, and I'll show you why. Can you see the stars? Each star, each stripe has a different red fabric on it. Look at the stars in here, all those different fabrics. I did the same thing. I cut out a bunch of squares, and then I took that little twister ruler, cut it out, and sewed all these back together. Then it's machine quilted with something called meandering stars. Like, you know how you meander? I talk about meandering puzzle pieces. Well, when you're doing it with a long arm machine or domestic machine with your hands, you're going around in a circle. Then you get somewhere you want to put a star, and you just put a star, like a 5-point star, and then you just keep going around and around. So I show this quilt because I want you to see like all the different stars, all the different fabrics. There are no two fabrics like next to each other. They're just all mixed around. And because this is a flat quilt, of course, we're not going to touch the floor. And if you notice, I miter my binding in the corners so that it's let me see how to get it right here, a 45-degree angle. So when I'm sewing them, I stop, and I can teach you guys. I can have a Zoom class and show you how you make the corners meander. Maria Graham, you're gonna laugh because this red fabric. I even have this giant hanging sleeve on the back of here, and the label on this quilt says Home of the Brave, artist Ellen Pankey, New Haven, Connecticut, 2020. It's 38 inches long and 44 inches wide. It's an art quilt. And you can see where I hand sewed the label on. Those miter corners are tight. Yes, once you learn how to do them, they're easy to do, but it's a learning process. It's a learning process. This quilt is called an African strip quilt. Why? Because it's made with strips of African fabric designed by Penny Pankey with fabrics hand carried from Senegal and Gambia by Gwen Edwards, Norwalk, Connecticut. In June of 2005 is when I made this one. It's 25 inches wide, 26 inches long. And what I did was, you love this quilt, Sissy. I had this on like a dresser cover in North Carolina. And this is what we were talking about stitching in the ditch. Stitching in the ditch. And if you look at some of these fabrics, even the ones that look like plain, it has a pattern in it. So the deaconess at my church, and this I kind of threw together, you guys. The Eritave Gardens. Thanks for coming and welcome. And I say I threw this one together. This is one of the few quilts that I just stitched with a sewing machine on the outside because I just wanted to get it finished. I didn't even miter the corners. I just sewed it in 2005 for whatever reason. For whatever reason, but I just like touching the fabric, you guys. I just love touching the fabric. So here is a quilt. I forgot what you call. Oh, they're called kaleidoscopes. But you know what? The weirdest thing started happening. Mike will love this. This is a hot pepper kaleidoscope designed by Penny Ellen Pankey from red pepper fabric strips. Each block is different, 29 inches by 29 inches long, Warrenton, North Carolina, 2009. But if you look at each block carefully, they're different. Each kaleidoscope is made with a different part of the fabric. But you know what they did? I'm going to put it on my lap. Mike's looking at these because it started making me dizzy. Look at this block. Now can you see it? This block is different from this block, is different from this block. Can you now you all when I put it down, you can see all the different blocks. Now it looks like a kaleidoscope of peppers. Isn't that interesting? G Mama grows hard in the garden. So these are some of the things that come later on. And then this was difficult. I don't know how I did this because I don't like sewing black on black on black in black. So this has a hanging sleeve on it. It's black. I sewed it with black thread. And when I was hemming it with the black thread on the back with the 1/4 inch stitches, that was hard work. That was hard work. Woo. So these are the ones that I could actually change out. I want you to know something though, you guys. When you have quilts and they're bright colors, dark colors, if you put them in the sun, they will fade. I did a quilt for a community quilt here in New Haven for the International Festival of Arts and Ideas. And it was in a police substation on the window, and it gradually faded out, like almost bleached white the whole entire thing. So this quilt, the story, look at the machine quilting on the back. Do you see that? This one has a piece backing because I just wanted to put a piece backing on it because it was a quilt made out of a family quilt, and the story of this quilt is on the label. It says, and let me show you. Handmade the label. You see that? That's what makes it art when you hand do things in there. Hello to anybody that I didn't see to speak to. So that's what I hand drew this little arrow. Why? Because my mother's grandmother was Native American, and arrows were a part of the symbolic stuff that I was working on at the time. So it says Grandpap Charlie quilt from his shirt, 45 inches by 64 inches long, made by his granddaughter, Ellen Pankey, February 20th, 2022. So I must have just finished this during the shutdown. But what this is, Sissy, is I only had a couple pieces. Because I made my mother, when my grandpap died, when mommy's father passed, she only had one shirt of his, and it was a gray flannel shirt. He was a coal miner, and his his grandfather owned a coal mine in Pennsylvania. And so I fussy cut, I took the shirt, it was flannel, and I cut each of the squares out. I will show you when I get to, oh, so it's symbolic. I found some fabric that was similar, old school. They call it 30s fabric. So I'm going to put this down so that, hey, Bayou Sugar, I know they got some good quilts down there where you are. So this square, and this square are pieces of my grandfather's actual shirt, and the rest are pieces that are symbolic and the kind of fabrics at the time. But this is a quilt of handmade blocks. No two blocks are the same. These are patterns that I just made up. You see these? I just took a bunches of squares and triangles and fitted them together. Now I'm going to put it flat on my lap so that you can see more of it. And I actually, we have, the family has a graveyard in Pennsylvania that's a National Historic Landmark. And I sent a little piece of a block from these pieces from Grandpa's shirt to go into the museum because my grandfather is buried along with his twin brother in the family cemetery in Pennsylvania. Did anybody have any questions? GT Jr., Grows in Alaska, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in, everybody. Ringing that bell. So, you guys are getting a quilt show. If Lorraine T was here, she could help me hold them up. We could go down in the community room. But yes, this is symbolic of a personal size quilt. So that this is what I have, something of my grandfather, and I have my dad's old watch. Get my elbow all beat up where I fell one time. I fell and I skinned my elbow up. So, okay. So this is one of the quilts that I designed and made myself, and there's no pattern for it. Now, this one is really interesting. It's called a shoebox quilt. I think Katy might have mentioned the shoebox quilt. What is a shoebox quilt? A shoebox quilt is a quilt that's made like a community quilt. And this particular quilt, we had 25 people who put pieces of fabric in a shoebox, right? And then everyone in this group was supposed to make one block for a quilt and the same block. So you made the same block for 25 people. And then when out of your fabric, they made a block, and then we gifted the blocks to each other one Christmas. And after that, we put them together. Well, I had couple blocks left over, And for some reason, people put colorways in that I didn't have in the quilt in the front. So I just put them in the back and I used them all. Hudson asked a question. She said, "Why are quilts heavy?" You know, these quilts are really thin, but they're really heavy and warm. They really, really are. They really are. I was just looking to see if there were any questions. So, this label in the back, I wanted to show you all because this is a handmade label that I made out of 3 different blocks. Whew. Holding this thing down. I'm going to put it on my lap. The beautiful, and you're loving the quilt show. You guys deserve it. Miss Shirley, OG, welcome. So these were some blocks. I don't know why they put this green, and I didn't have it in my quilt in the front. So all this is part of the backing. The backing is pieced, and then on this part, this is the back of the quilt, you guys. Even the back is pretty. So these are the 26 people who worked on this quilt. It's 85 inches by 85 inches. And Andale Homestead always goes to this place on this Lake Gaston. That's where this quilt guild is in North Carolina. And we used to meet on the lake. It's like Gaston Lake Peacemaker quilt, shoebox quilt, and I made it in 2013. And on it, I took a fine marker and I handwrote the names of all the people that made a block. And then, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a schematic. And I even drew this little flower on it. And I just wanted to make it different. And this was one of my show quilts that year. And it's long arm quilted with feathers. So that's the back, but wait until you see the front of this bad boy. And again, it's hand sewn, the binding hand sewn on it. Why? Because it was one of my show quilts. So I put all these fabrics in a box, all the golds, the oranges. This doesn't really do it justice. And every single block is different. And these are some exquisite blocks. You know what I will do? You know what I will do with this one? I will put it up here for Saturday just so that you could see the whole thing at one time. It has a hanging sleeve. Why? Because it's one of my show quilts, the front and the back. And there's one block that my friend, oh, this one, it's like a house. You see the house? The different stars. This was a labor of love. That's a lot of love. So there were 26 of us. We each made 26 blocks. My sister said, "You're right. I haven't seen some of these quilts because they got here in stages and they're in different containers, like put away. And I never got them out all at one time. Even this is a, I'll show you guys another time. This is a quilt I just finished for Christmas. It's a Christmas quilt in African fabrics. This is just the top. The quilt isn't finished yet. This is another one that I made. That's pretty big. This was a big block quilt. I did this here. I did this since Christmas this year of 2023 because I just got these fabrics sent to me from Africa for this project, and it's an international quilting group. It's called Quilt Africa Fabrics, and it's funny when quilters look at things. You know what they do? Oh, and by the way, when you sew even black quilts, you sew with a neutral thread like gray or tan. the first thing they do is look at the back to see the seams. So the quilts that are finished, they want to see if your quilts are raggedy, if the seams are pressed. So this quilt, you can see all the seams are pressed. Even all these were sewn one by one by one, one by one by one. So now, do any of you have any questions? How many of you enjoyed the quilt show? Put a put a 2 in the chat if you enjoyed it. You like that piecing, Sissy Joanne Stevens? Well, when you've been doing it a long time, you learn how to stack your seams, how to turn them. It's not necessary in the beginning. Like the rag quilts, those are my favorite quilts to show. Going to Hudson's question, this is a little art quilt that I'm working on. Now, I actually worked on it last week and I didn't stop. I was stitching in the ditch or along the edge of this. But what I want you to see, Hudson, oh, says too, love every amazing quilt in the show. Thank you. Unbiased is such, I know she was watching. So, what this is this is the this is the quilt. It ends where the black is. This is the batting. This is the backing. I will actually lay this flat on a table and put a ruler. I know that my borders are perfectly straight because I measured them. The black part, I measured them before I put it on top of the batting. So, what I will do is take a ruler. Unbiased, you asked me about this. How do you get the batting even? And I will take one of my big rulers and put it along here and my rotary cutter and just cut them. I cut all 3 pieces so that they're exactly alike. Then I take and put the binding on. However, I'm going to do a little bit more stitching over on here. I'm going to do something with this tree. This tree on this side isn't actually stitched down yet because I was going to do it with black thread on black, and I know it's going to drive me crazy. So, any of you that wanted to do a shoebox quilt, it's actually kind of fun. So, you would put like, I think I put like a yard of, maybe 2 yards of some of different fabrics, but I put a lot of gold and black and gray and stuff in that quilt. And I had no idea what blocks I would get in return. I have another shoebox quilt that I did with another quilt guild in North Carolina. Unbiased saying hello to everyone in the chat. Big Rooster. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for coming. Does anybody have any questions before we shut it down? Talent and art. But you know what? So yes, some of these are complicated quilts. Some of them are. But how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. We took, when we worked on this quilt, the shoebox quilt, we would meet like once a month and 4 or 5 people would exchange shoeboxes. And we take it home and we would work on it. And each person would do the same block 26 times in whatever colors that person had in the shoebox. And they didn't know what we were going to do with their fabrics. Is that a part of the 2 wall quilts I have? I don't know, Sissy. I don't know which wall quilts that you have. The Arizona Peacock was supposed to be a wool one. How do you collect the pieces for the shoebox, Karen? You just take what you're doing is making your own colorway. Like I showed you guys in the beginning, all those pieces of fabric. I would take like a yard or 2. You know what size quilt you wanted to make. I knew this was going to be a queen size quilt. Plus, I put some I put some borders on it to make it even bigger. I put sashing in the middle to make it bigger. And well, I know for a fact that it takes 9 or 10 yards of fabric just to make the front, just to make the front of a king size, queen size quilt. So you have to put that many yards in the box so that you have enough to make your quilt. It's the same pattern and fabric. Which one, sissy? I know the grandmother's fan was. Yes, everybody, don't forget, please, if you don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this out. People would love to see some handmade quilts. All these were done by hand. Even when I had my long arm machine, there are two ways that you long arm quilt. One, you use computers, or two, you use it manually guided. Mine, I had manually guided. Does anybody want to see the quilt studio? I have the video in here. I can show you. It's about a 5-minute video. Put a 1 in the chat if you would like to see the studio, the long arm machine, because I used to have a high-speed bobbin winder, and I had big bobbins that went on the machine. It was like zoom. So if I was going to work on a quilt, I might wrap like 10 bobbins. You would like to see it, Mrs. D's garden, Little Karen's garden? Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So I downsized from 1,500 square feet. Here we go. Okay, so why isn't it going? I don't know if Dolores is in here. Maybe she can get it going. I can't seem to get the... Oops. Yay, you guys. So before I downsized, I actually built a custom modular home on the family property in North Carolina, and it was 3,000 square feet. So it was 1,500 square feet on the first floor, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, nice size place. But the entire second floor I made into a 1,500 square foot studio. And Joanne says, great studio visit. And that's what I worked in. So I downsized. I got rid of most of those machines. My actual dedicated space here is maybe 10 feet by 12 feet, but I have the sofa up on architectural risers. I have storage under there, storage under the chairs, storage under the bed, and I have vertical storage, as you see. Everything, every wall here is from the floor to the ceiling with books and other things. I gave away like 11 bookcases of books. A lot of them were law books and stuff like that. So, did anybody have any more questions? Any more questions? So this is on to you. Unbiased LLC. Did you see that little sewing caddy that was by one of the sewing machines? I forgot who I gave it to. Hudson says, my journey is amazing. Thank you. Our Treasured Home said that was a great video. At the time, you don't think that you're not going to be there, and you don't take pictures. I never took a lot of pictures, so I'm going back now, trying to recreate things so that I can share them with you, my children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, even my sister. My sister is on here, and she hasn't seen all these quilts, and these are just some of the little ones because it's kind of. Joanne says, you should see what I did to their bedroom closet in California. I moved in with her and her husband Roscoe in a place called Linwood, California, not too far from K Renee and Juicing with Jay and them. And the closet was a big closet. I had 4 layers. I had 4 rows of clothes in that closet, and I had my own bathroom down there too. But you should see what I do to her house when I go there now. It's like, Hurricane Sissy is here, but they don't mind. I'm in the garden. I'm digging up stuff in the yard. I'm in the kitchen. The Amazon truck is coming every day because I'm delivering stuff, getting it done. But that's just me, and my family loves me, and they allow me to do whatever makes me happy. But what makes me happy is making them happy. Bijou says, have a terrific rest of the day. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hold on. And I have an outro video. And I will see you on Saturday. And it's not too late, you guys, to drop your link for your channel by doing !GQUAT. Okay. If I can get to the outro, I don't have a mouse because I have this on a little thing, and it's hard to get over there. So peace, love, and blessings. I love each and every one of you.